Hello, football fans. Welcome back. Scuffed Football Podcast is here again, season 2 for us, getting into the 2023 NFL season. Before week 1, I think what we're just going to do is plain simple, sweet and to the point. We're just going to get straight in, go division by division, talk about every team, who they've added, who they've dropped, and then just make our predictions and go straight through. Let's start with you, Noah. We're going AFC East. No.
I mean, I think we still know it. I think it's still going to stay the same. We got to go Bills Mafia for everything. So,
obviously the Bills aren't the most interesting part of this division to me. I think a lot of their stuff stayed the same. I am a little worried about their defense this year. I know they've got some older pieces, some couple of pieces that left. But I still think the Bills are, they have to be the favorites, right?
Even with all the changes to the Jets, though, I think I think Bills are still the road that it goes through for in that division, at least.
The Jets have added so many pieces. All right, this is where we get interesting, right? Because we talked about that Aaron Rodgers last year looked kind of disappointing all season long, and then you look at his numbers and he really wasn't that bad. Now he's brought all of his favorite pieces over from the Packers, so the Jets are just Packers East. The Jets defense was Super Bowl good last year. I mean, if they had half a decent quarterback, they probably had a deeper run in the playoffs. I mean, their defense was super good. And then they've gone and added not only obviously Aaron Rodgers, but they signed Dalvin Cook a couple of weeks ago, to fill in for Breece Hall, who I thought was really great last season. The Jets have the potential to be scary, man.
I mean, I don't think they have the potential. I mean, I think they are just dangerous if they all click together. I mean, obviously, it's going to take a little bit more than just here and there, practices. But I'm gonna probably say that during midseason they'll be clicking on all cylinders, and they'll probably be very dangerous come playoff time if they click. But
and then. Big F. Well, and then as you get into other teams in the division, I mean, Miami's ceiling last year was really high. You could argue that Miami's ceiling was better than the Bills, and the Bills were just more consistent. You could make the argument.
Okay.
Now, I mean, Tua's obviously their biggest question mark, but he's back. And then they also signed Mike White, who looked really hot at the end of last season. I think they've shored up some holes in their defense. I think they've done the bare minimum to improve their offensive line, but I guess it's an improvement. Obviously, health is a big concern, but I mean, realistically, where do we see the Dolphins ending up?
I mean, I think that they definitely could be right there, top 4 teams. When you think it's probably going to be Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, and then I think the Dolphins could be in that conversation for top 4 in that. But I mean, they still got a lot to prove. I mean, barring injuries, they could be really good, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, in my head, any one of those 3 teams could win the division. I mean, I expect it to be the Bills just because they've been consistent for years. I think, Josh Allen takes over games and often wins by himself. So it's hard for me to put money anywhere other than the Bills winning the division. But any one of those 3 teams could pop off. But I think New England's done some stuff to be interesting this year too. Most notably for me, they signed Juju to a contract. They actually have a notable receiver now. I don't know if Juju's the greatest number 1 option in the league, but it's better than they had last year. And then I think the most notable change then is actually switching up their offensive coordinator so that somebody who is familiar with offense in football is now calling plays for that team. I still expect them to finish last, but this year I think the AFC East is one of the most competitive divisions that we're going to see. I really think that we're going to see good football from all 4 teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can agree with that, yeah.
All right, staying in the AFC, let's go to the AFC North. Really, there weren't a whole lot of trades and acquisitions here. I think the Ravens are really the only ones that we can talk about signings in the free agency period. Obviously, we got Lamar Jackson re-signed. Odell Beckham signed, which, I mean, he's always going to be a difference maker, even if he's not your best option. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, the Ravens are still the favorite to win the division.
Interesting. I'm surprised you're not running with the Bengals on that.
Much like I said last year, I think it's tough for the Bengals to repeat where they're at. Love Joe Burrow. I think he's really good. Their offense is super explosive. But to me, without making any changes, I mean, I still think that their defense is a liability. a lot of the Ravens' concerns last year were injury related. I mean, guys just not being on the field. So I think it was really tough to get a comparison how Baltimore and Cincinnati play together. I fully expect both of them to make the playoffs, barring injury. But to me, on paper, the Ravens are probably a more complete team, and they actually did things in the offseason to better themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these teams have significantly improved. Like, I think that the Browns and Steelers have both taken steps that's kind of making. Like, I don't know. I don't know who wins this division. I mean, I agree it could be the Ravens or Bengals, but I think the Browns and Steelers both got better this offseason that they could, be maybe right there also. So I'm going to be interested to watch this one as well.
Yeah, obviously we all know I'm a Kenny Pickett homer. So obviously going to root for that guy. And I think that he's poised to actually make a step forward this year. I mean, they ended pretty decently last season, but I really think he's going to improve again. I don't know that the Steelers are going to be worth a whole lot, but I think he's going to look better, that at least they shore up the team's going to be a little better. The Browns are interesting because for me, Deshaun Watson is still a massive question mark. I know last year he only played 6 games. That's not enough time to get adjusted to a playbook. We haven't seen him for the better part of 2 seasons before those 6 games last year, so we don't know what his athleticism looks like, his arm strength. I mean, I think that obviously an off-season worth of actual training helps, but we haven't watched that man on a live football field in a game that matters in 3 years. Kind of tough.
Yeah.
Let's move the AFC West. Most notable move in this whole division, Jimmy Garoppolo to the Raiders. We're going to cover the 49ers later because I have so many questions about their quarterback room. But Jimmy G is a solid, stable piece that you know exactly what you're getting. For me personally, I still think it's a step back from Derek Carr, but I guess change can be welcomed. So what do we think about Vegas?
I think that I agree. I think it's a step down, but I think for the Raiders, they're probably just trying to find consistency. I don't think Derek Carr was as consistent as Jimmy was, maybe. So maybe that's what they're looking for. But I still, I don't think that they're going to be. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's still.
Losing Darren Waller hurts too. I mean, I think the directions that Vegas is going are interesting, but they're still bottom feeding to me. The rest of the division is actually much more exciting. I think that I can pretty confidently say the Chiefs win the division, and that's that. I think the next closest team that we view as realistic would probably be the Chargers. Not a whole lot of offseason moves here, but they got to keep all of their important pieces. I mean, you still got Herbert, you still have Eckler, you still have, God, I can't think of the receiver's name, but
Keenan Allen.
Yeah, thank you. Fuck, it started with a K, and that's all I had. But yeah, I still think that the Chargers have the potential to be good again. I think they've kind of fallen flat, and I think that their coach probably should have lost his job, and we should be looking at a new look offense. But I still think the Chargers can make some noise, make a playoff run at the very least.
I mean, plus you will get Herbert backs from injury. He won't be playing with half power strength in his arm. So yeah, I think get a healthy team and. We'll be good.
And then the Broncos. Sean Payton makes a huge difference here. We watched that man forever, be able to run a quality offense in New Orleans. Granted, Drew Brees helps, but I mean, we also watched Jameis Winston have moderate success in New Orleans, under Sean Payton. I really think that Payton makes their woes from last year where they couldn't score more than 17 points. I think he makes a lot of that go away. Russell Wilson's still an incredible athlete. You just have to design an offense around him. And I think Peyton's a smart enough guy to do that. I certainly see them winning more than they did last year. I don't know how far they'll go, but I certainly see them having more wins this year than last.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. On to maybe... for me, at least, I think this division is less interesting. But there are certainly upsides. The AFC South is how we're going to finish up the AFC. First of all, I don't think we can talk about this division without asking what the hell is going on in Indy. They've gone through some old-ass quarterbacks for, the past 4 seasons? Nobody's stuck around for longer than a year. We've now gone through a head coaching switch. They drafted Anthony Richardson, who I didn't think was that special in college. I know he's an athlete, but man, jumping in on day one is terrifying. What the hell is going on?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they knew either, seeing how they were last season. Plus, then you got on top of that, you got your star running back asking for a trade. And it was just, this offseason for them was just terrible. I feel bad. I don't really know what else to.
We said it a bunch of times last year that there was a couple of teams that were head and shoulders above the rest of the league, but there was not really anyone at the bottom that was definitively a really awful team. The Colts are going to be that really awful team because there is nothing in that room that makes any sense at all. I think that the big part of this division comes down to probably who wins between the Titans and the Jags. I know that everybody's up on the Jags this year. I think that Trevor Lawrence. God, I'm so out of practice. I'm forgetting every name in the book.
It's okay. It's okay.
There's some rust to shake off. But I think Trevor Lawrence showed obviously last year that he's ready to lead a team. He's still on a rookie deal, so they've had some money to put around him. I think that team looks pretty good if they're healthy. But I guess I just actually need to see them confidently beat the Titans, in my mind, for them that I can confidently say that they should be a division favorite in a pretty weak division. And plus this year with the Titans, again, health was a concern last year, but health is on par this year. They drafted a quarterback in case they lose Tannehill because we know that was a struggle last year. And then they added DeAndre Hopkins. So I really need to see something out of the Jags early this season to be confident they can beat the Titans. I still think the Titans win this division.
Yeah, I got to agree. I think the Jags have the potential to beat them. But I right now, Titans are still they're still the kings of the AFC South. So until we see an upset that, really can, like you said, they can really truly beat them. We won't really see that until they play each other. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then I think we can just say that the Texans are the Texans, and we can stop paying attention there.
Yeah, pretty much. All
right, moving into the NFC. I think every team in the East has something notable that they've done this offseason to make themselves competitive. To start with, I mentioned Darren Waller leaving Las Vegas. He's signed with the Giants. They've also got Saquon Barkley under contract. I think they've really committed to Daniel Jones now that I think all of the shored up pieces are there. I think the Giants believe that they can compete. I don't know. The Eagles and Cowboys both looked really good, and I think that the Giants have to... I think that they could make a playoff run in the NFC, but winning this division feels kind of out of reach. Then for the Commanders, I think that they've added pieces that will make their team better than last year, but I think they're confused about the pieces that they've added, so it's not going to work. They're still trying to decide their quarterback, last I had read any updates, between Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell. That's not a quarterback battle I necessarily would like my team to be fighting about before week one. But how do you see this one playing out? What do you see happening to Washington this year?
I think when we think of NFC East, we always think, Washington's probably on the lowest there. But I just think that in general, they're going to be worse than they were last season. But I think they're still going to hang around in some games. I think we'll see a repeat of this past season, but it's not going to be nearly as close as in the playoff race. But yeah.
I certainly think they're interesting, even if interesting doesn't mean good.
Yeah, exactly.
Dallas has added some pieces. They're trying to win this division. They're trying to win the conference and get back to a Super Bowl. I think Brandon Cooks is a huge piece for them. Just one more weapon for Dak or whatever quarterback is playing if Dak gets injured again. Their offense pretty well held up last year without Dak for 5 games. I think adding Brandon Cooks only makes them even more of a threat regardless. My big question about them is how much does Deuce Vaughn play? Because that man is hilarious. He's just funny as hell to look at.
Yeah, that's the real question. We'll be marking the numbers,
How realistically, what do you see? I mean, I think the Eagles and Cowboys are probably the top two favorites for the conference. So, I mean, where do you see Dallas realistically ending up this year?
Again, I think Eagles are gonna repeat as winning their division. I think Cowboys are gonna be 1 or 2 games behind. But I mean, again, I see them probably not making it past the wild card probably at some point though. So I'm not sure they're going to really make a Super Bowl, but I feel like they're just not this season at least.
Fair enough. I also like the Eagles to repeat, but that's probably, the homer
a
in
little
me
biased or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Just a touch. The one thing that I think the Eagles have done well this offseason, I know they lost a lot of pieces, but I also recognize that they've done some things to maybe secure different pieces of their offense. Specifically the running back room. Adding Rashad Penny was an awesome move, and then they added DeAndre Swift. Like, those are 2 running backs who are both better than Miles Sanders, and I got both of them. I think that's pretty impressive. I do worry a little bit about the defensive starters. I mean, I think they lost 6 of them, but I think that the Eagles have the room to repeat. I don't know that they're going to look as good as last season, but I think they'll still be pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Moving to the North, this division gets interesting mostly because Aaron Rodgers is gone. So I kind of want to start with the Vikings, mostly because that they were ahead of that division for most of the season last year. I don't think they made any moves forward. I don't think they made any moves backwards, but we all kind of lost faith in them towards the end of the season. After they beat the Bills last year, they just kind of looked flat.
Yeah.
What do you see happening to Minnesota this year? Because I am really confused.
I don't know. I'd like to say that I could see them being the division winner, but I think the Lions are ready to take a step up. I think Vikings are still like I don't even know. They're not like they're a really good medium team.
Yeah.
Like, they're not
fair.
So, and I think the Lions are ready to push like a little bit past and into that. So I don't see them being the winners of this division. Not at least. Lions, Bears did improve as well. I think that we could see a little change of, passing of the baton. So we'll see.
I think the Lions are super interesting. I really thought that DeAndre Swift leaving was going to be a huge blow to them, but they added David Montgomery, which I still kind of feel pretty solid about. Their offense was explosive last year. Like without a doubt, they just couldn't play any defense whatsoever. And I think now that they've got everybody's been there for a while. They've added a couple of, solid pieces on defense. I really think that the Lions have the potential to win this division. I still won't believe it because it's Detroit and all I've done my whole life is watch them lose. But I do think that they become super interesting. But the Bears, I can't get myself into the hype. I can't do it. I love Justin Fields. I think he's really good. I think he makes the team very explosive, unpredictable, and really hard to play defense against. And I think actually giving him a receiver in DJ Moore is going to help that team. But it's hard for me to believe that a team can go from 3 wins in the first overall pick in the draft to somebody who contends. Even if they make the playoffs, I think that's a high bar for them to reach this year.
Well, I guess we'll be finding out.
I think they're interesting. I can't buy into the hype. Then the Packers, because the Packers are just an enormous question mark. They had a couple game stretch last year where they actually looked decent. I believe they still missed the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And if they did make it, it was a really early exit. But now we're about to watch a guy who hasn't taken meaningful snaps in 5 years since college. Man, that's hard to buy into. I would be really scared to be a Packers fan right now.
I mean, I saw this thing, again, before I made that trade for Jamal Williams, right? Like, we discussed it. And, I even read up on him and, everything. And someone was saying, it doesn't matter how good Jordan Love has to be throwing a ball because passing it off will still just be like normal. So I was like, okay, I'm fine making that trade. But if it was a wide receiver, I'm very concerned. Christian Watson, I would be very concerned to be picking him up. That's all I'm saying.
I know that we've also seen the trend too. I mean, we've had guys leave Aaron Rodgers' team that don't look nearly as good somewhere else. And I worry that Christian Watson looked good because it was Aaron Rodgers, not because he's that good. I think we're going to learn a lot about Green Bay in like the first 2 weeks. I really think that like it's going to be a struggle for him this year, but somehow people still manage to have some hope about Green Bay. I don't get it. All right. I tried to take notes for every team. I found exactly nothing for the NFC West. They bore me. I recognize that the 49ers were a really good team last year. They have title hopes. I think that they're still a solid team. Their quarterback room is maybe the most questions that I have from this division. They've committed now to Brock Purdy because they traded away Jimmy Garoppolo and God, what's his name? They traded him for pocket change.
Trey
Lance. Yeah. They traded Trey Lance for pocket change. They got a 4th round
after
draft.
What they gave up to get him. Oh God.
I think it's interesting to commit to Brock Purdy. I think that he's a good, cheap option. I mean, he played really well last season. This isn't me talking shit, I promise. I think that Brock Purdy looked really good. I think that the way Shanahan coaches an offense a tackling dummy could succeed as a quarterback in that offense. But it is strange to me to see that they gave up the consistency they know they have, where Jimmy G took them, was it to a Super Bowl? Or just the NFC champion? Okay, took them to a Super Bowl. Like, it's weird to give up on that consistency for me for Brock Purdy, who was the very last pick in the draft and played 8 games last year. And then, following his injuries, that was a pretty significant injury. And I know he stepped back on the field again, but that was a pretty immediate surgery after that football game last year.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be interested to see. I guess they're really that committed and, comfortable leaving it just to Brock Purdy. But I have to agree. I think the system that, they're running there, I think anyone could succeed. So I get it, though. They're going for the cheap option that worked for 8 games and are taking a gamble on it. So,
no, I think they're the favorites to win the division for me, and I don't think it's close. Seattle's an interesting one to me. So Seattle put together a pretty decent season last year. I don't know if I'm telling you, the Russ, their quarterback. I can't come up with his name. All I can think about is him getting punched in the face in the Jets. And I can't come up with his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, it's going to bother me until I figure it out, but I'm not going to click my keyboard in everyone's ears to figure it out. So let's just say the Seahawks quarterback. I think they did a really interesting thing this offseason where they kept him. They signed him for 3 years at a reasonable deal. Really reasonable for the team, considering the year he had last year. But then they also put help behind him, which tells me that they're just not committed to whatever they're doing this season. I think if we watch them lose a couple of games in a row, that we're going to see a quarterback change. Like, I don't know that they're looking to compete this season as much as learn.
I mean, I don't know. I think I didn't really pay attention that much to the Seahawks, so I don't really. All I did was draft Tyler Lockett. That's it. that's as much as I know about Seattle anymore.
Certainly fair. I mean, like I said, their offense was decent last year, but what they've done this offseason doesn't make me think that they're ready to compete. Then maybe the most winnable division in all of the NFL, the NFC South. We gave up on this division about halfway through last season. We just kept saying, shit, everyone's bad. Let's move on. I think there have been a bunch of weird moves that don't quite give me a whole lot of hope for any teams here. The Panthers are pretty notable. Their quarterback situation really sucks. But I think Miles Sanders has been a productive piece. He's obviously not a Christian McCaffrey replacement, but he's been a solid piece. Adam Thielen has been a really good receiver in the league for a long time. Adding those 2 pieces helps. It's weird to not know who's going to throw them the ball and know that they have those 2 pieces. The Bucs, their quarterback room's a disaster. When you sign Baker Mayfield for his 3rd team in 2 seasons, I think you have to be pretty scared about how it's going to happen. I've heard a couple of people say that they can watch the Bucs perform, but man, that doesn't feel like a whole lot of confidence to me. Yeah. And then Derek Carr to New Orleans. I don't think last year that they were just a quarterback away. I think they were significantly further away. You've lost Alvin Kamara now for at least part of the season. What is it, 3 or 4 games?
That's 4, yeah.
And then Derek Carr adding into that mix does not, to me, sound like a division winner anywhere other than the NFC South. Who do you like to win this division? Anything else notable that I missed? Because I think this division's going to suck again.
Yeah, I don't even know. I think that maybe the Falcons can make some noise. I think it comes down. I think it's going to be Panthers and Falcons trying to make some noise. I mean, obviously, we'll see how Bijan, performs. But I'm hoping that he's going to be a pretty decent running back for them. So we'll see.
Well, that does transition me nicely into fantasy. I know most drafts are done. I know that I'm not looking forward to mine tomorrow because our league is absolutely chaos. Who the hell goes 2 quarterbacks and a super flex? Beyond the point. I do want to talk about a couple of players that I think are very interesting for fantasy this year. To start with, I want to talk about Bijan Robinson. I think drafting him is very scary. I know that his average draft position is somewhere in the first or second round. I know people really like him because he is absolutely an animal. But he's also listed at 3rd on the Falcons depth chart. I don't know that he's going to be involved in passing plays, so even your PPR league, I don't know that his usage rate is that high to get you points back in receptions. I also don't know if he's going to get the goal line touches because we've watched them have success without him. I don't know how productive he's going to be, and I'm really terrified for anybody drafting him.
Yeah, I got to say, I almost traded for him, but then I myself was very scared of what that would mean, and I didn't want to take that risk. So I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I guess we'll just have to see, though.
There's a couple other players that are interesting to me that we've already mentioned for this podcast. Christian Watson's another one that I want to talk about. So I think there's some weird upside with him, not because I believe in the Packers or Jordan Love, but because who else is he throwing the ball to? I think Watson was a pretty decent route runner last year. He made himself be open. I don't know that I have the faith in Jordan Love that I would feel confident drafting Watson, but I also think that it's a super fascinating choice when he's not sharing the load with anybody. Another one for me, DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, the guy's a monster. He might be one of the best, most talented receivers we've ever watched play the game. But Tennessee kind of lives in the run game. I know he's going to be an available option, and I don't think he's ever going to be a bad draft choice, but what kind of value do you put on D-Hop?
Honestly, I got to agree. I'd be pretty nervous. I know he's, projected to have high averages, but we haven't really seen D-Hop play in a very long time that, he was utilized properly. Again, the last time I think was probably Houston with Deshaun Watson. He was great. He was top, and then some injuries in Arizona derailed him. So I guess I'd be seeing, but I'd be very nervous to even put anything on him.
It's weird to me because I know myself well enough in this draft that if he's available in the 10th round, of course I'm going to take him. He's got upside, right?
Yeah.
But I can't confidently give myself a line to say, is he worth it in the 5th or 6th? Is he worth it in the 7th or 8th? At what point do you draw that line where there's a better option than D-Hop versus when you pick him up? I think he's very interesting.
Yeah.
The next question I have then actually just came to us in a story just before we started recording, so neither one of us had prepped. Travis Kelce hyperextended. What did he? Was it a knee?
His knee. Yeah.
Hyperextended his knee moments before we pressed the record button. For anyone who hasn't drafted, what the hell do you do now?
I don't know. Again, he's also in any leagues when you draft. I mean, he is literally, I think, a top 5 player in a projection. I don't know. He won't have him available for at least a few weeks. I mean, again, it's the whole boomer bust. I would probably still pick him up and just put him on the bench. You can pick up another tight end that can fill in, but I don't know. Again, I know your question was do I draft him first round, second round, third? I don't know. If
he's projected at 4th, you draft and you have him at he's still on the board at the 8th pick. You probably pick him up. That he's better than any other tight end, right? But if you have that 4th pick and he's projected to go 4th, do you get somebody that you're going to have for 17 games? Or do you take Travis Kelce because he's better than the next available option? knowing that you get 1 week of nothing? That's such a terrifying question to me. Especially because I haven't drafted yet. My next question is then, if Travis Kelce's injury is more serious than the report that we got, 20 minutes ago, what does that do to Mahomes and the Chiefs? How do we look at Mahomes' draft option if he doesn't have his favorite and most consistent receiver?
I think that we see the same Chiefs. Again, we watched them get rid of Tyreek Hill, and we had the same questions. How are they going to perform? And they still soared. Their receivers who no one knew about started to make names for themselves because they were fast. And, I think if you just plug another big body in for a week, I think Mahomes is still going to have his, 3 touchdowns and 300 passing yards. He's going to find his target. So I think he should be fine. I think it's just all about Travis. So
if it were any other injury, I'd fully buy into that because Patrick Mahomes is absolutely incredible. But something about having the option of Travis Kelce and Mecole Hardman, or just Mecole Hardman, makes that a little more terrifying to believe in. I still think he'll be good. He'll be above average, but that's got to be a numbers dip, right? That offense is built around Kelce's 6'8" frame. I don't care if he's not actually 6'8". That man is a grizzly bear. That whole offense is built around him existing, and him not being there is real hard to replace.
Yeah, it's 120 yards and probably a touchdown at least. So you're not going to replace that, but you can try and spread it out elsewhere.
All right, and then for our last segment, let's just get into gambling. Let's make some picks. Week 1 spreads always terrify me, but let's just get right into it. So to start, we've got Detroit, Kansas City. Kansas City is a 5.5 favorite after we got the report about Travis Kelce's hyperextension.
Oh, that actually changes a lot. I don't know. I'm going to go Detroit with an upset here.
I also like Detroit. I think people are putting too much emphasis on Detroit to be a really good team, but I think they're going to be good enough to keep it within 5.5, especially if Kelce doesn't play. Their offense was explosive, and I don't really worry about it. I think they'll keep this game close. We've got the 49ers and the Steelers. 49ers are 2.5 favorites on the road.
I don't know. I'm going to go Niners on that one. I think they get that.
I think I'm taking the Niners too. First week spreads always terrify me. Maybe Brock Purdy drops off somewhere because they put too much faith in him. Maybe Pickett and Pickens have this massive connection and go for 400 yards. I think it's hard to tell, but I think on paper San Francisco's a more well-rounded team and they should cover that. I have Carolina and Atlanta. Falcons are 3.5 favorites at home.
Just because they're at home, and I don't trust whoever is going to be in Carolina's quarterback. So I guess I'll go Falcons here, but I still need to see him play to confidently make that choice.
I think that I'm going to take Carolina and the points. On paper, to me, there's not a whole lot of difference between these two teams. That I guess Carolina, I know at least has Miles Sanders who can run the ball, and that puts me over. If you're gonna give me 3.5 on top of that, okay, I'll try that out. Weird first week spread. I got Houston at Baltimore. Baltimore is 10-point favorites at home. Double digits get me all the goddamn time.
Well, I had my thing, so I'm going Baltimore.
I think for this one, I'm taking Baltimore too. Houston's still just kind of boring to me. I think that the Ravens, again, they're my picks to win the North. I have to believe that they are at least 10 points better than Houston. All right, I have Cincinnati at Cleveland. The Bengals are 2.5 favorites on the road.
I feel like that's I agree with that. I'm definitely taking Bengals on that one. Yeah.
I'm with you. Cincinnati's just better than Cleveland. Watson could surprise me, I guess, but 2.5 feels too close.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I have Tampa Bay at Minnesota. The Vikings are 6-point favorites at home. Look, it's a 1 o'clock game, and we know what Kirk Cousins does in 1 o'clock games. They're at home. It's Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. I'm on Minnesota, like, not even thinking about it.
All right, I'll believe Justin Jefferson has a nice game, so Minnesota.
All right, I've got Cardinals Commanders. The Commanders are 7-point favorites at home.
Damn.
I don't know what to do with that. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that Arizona is going to be not good again this year. I don't think they did anything notable, but Washington was not that much better, and we still don't know who their quarterback is. Like, yeah. I have to believe in Arizona for this one.
I gotta say, I think I'm with you. I'm going Arizona.
All right, I got the Titans and the Saints. The Saints are 3-point favorites at home. I think Tennessee's a better team. I'm taking the Titans on the road.
Yeah, I'm taking Titans.
All right. I have the Jags at the Colts. Jags are 4.5 favorites on the road.
Taking Jags on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you. What the fuck is going on in Indy? I still can't get over all the dumb shit they've done. I have the Rams at the Seahawks. Seahawks are 5.5 favorites at home.
I think I'm gonna go take Seahawks on that one, especially with no Cooper Kupp week 1. So,
I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think a lot of the Rams' struggles last year were just not having anybody healthy on offense. I think that they are a better team than we saw last year. I think they should be able to keep it within 5.5. I've got the Eagles and the Patriots. Eagles are 3.5 favorites on the road.
Yeah, I'm taking Eagles on the road.
Yep, Patriots are not that good. All right, I got Las Vegas and Denver. The Broncos are 4-point favorites at home.
I guess I'm gonna, as much as it's an unproven commodity, I mean, I guess I'll take Denver here, and we'll see how much Sean Payton has an effect on this.
I'm taking Vegas, but only because you picked first. I really don't know what to do with this game. We got to get some different picks somewhere, so let's make it interesting. I have Green Bay at Chicago. Chicago is a 1.5 favorite at home. Look, I like the Bears here. I can't put any faith in a team led by a dude who hasn't thrown meaningful passes in 5 years. Like, I don't know that Chicago is going to be great, but I think they, on paper, should be better than a dude who hasn't played football. Like, Jordan Love is really scary to commit to.
Well, I would agree, but like you said, we need variety, so I'll go Packers here.
All right, I have the Dolphins at the Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites at home.
I think here we'll actually have different views. I'm going to go Chargers here.
I think that the Chargers are super interesting. I think that they're probably the better team. Math tells me I should take Miami on the road because they're still healthy. Like, again, Miami has a better ceiling than most teams. It's just that they can't reach that ceiling when everybody's in a sling and a cast. It's week 1. Like, we should be able to do it. I think Miami should be all right. I think I'll take Miami to cover. Sunday night, I have Dallas at the Giants. Dallas are 3.5 favorites. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think that I'm going to take Dallas. Similar reasons as the Rams. I think that healthy, they're a better team than the Giants. Giants are interesting. Giants are good, but I think Dallas is a better team. And I think that more of their pieces are going to be ready week 1.
I'm going to go Giants just because I think that we might be in for an upset night.
All right. And then I have Buffalo, and I wrote down NYL, but I believe it should be the Jets and not whatever L means. Buffalo is 2.5 favorites on the road.
Gotta go Buffalo.
Man, this is tough. I know Buffalo's a better team. But the Jets are just so goddamn interesting. Fuck, I'll throw a flyer out there. Let me take the Jets. We got to keep it interesting. 2.5 is close. It's a toss-up. They're at home. Fuck it. All right. As always, lines are provided by FanDuel as of Tuesday afternoon. They are subject to change by game time. Please gamble responsibly. Remember that we're not providing gambling advice, solely providing our picks. If your loved one has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. I haven't said that spiel in so long, and I fucking nailed it. Someone be proud of me. All right. With that, I think that wraps us up for this week. Excited for the week 1 of games, and we'll see you here next time. Adios.